Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2218's Attitude for Gratitude. It's your boy Tad here, and I'm chilling with my best friend,
Timmy J.
Hey, man, if you're listening to us, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sponsor, tell your sponsees. Share this. Smash that like button. It's an interactive show. We can't be interactive. So if you have questions for myself or Tim or our guest tonight, the wonderful Jesse and Rick, make sure you pipe in the comments. But check this out. If you're getting this from a link that's not directly on 2218's Attitude for Gratitude, we're not going to see it. So make sure you go to the page, 2218's Attitude for Gratitude on Facebook, and then ask your questions. Or if you know Tim or myself or Elena or Matt, our technical producers, text us.
Out.
Yeah, and we'll get your questions on.
I get quite a few people that reach out to me throughout the show and ask me to post questions. It's, they prefer to do that sometimes. So that's quite all right. Do that.
And then you're anonymous.
Yeah, you keep it anonymous if you want. You can reach out to any of us. We do have a
What's
good
going
show
on
ahead of us.
We have a great show, dude.
Yes.
Step 3.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. You know what, Ted? Explain to me one thing.
What?
How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend. My weekend was great. You asked about my weekend.
I know.
So I went on a little mini vacay with the fam, and we went ice fishing, and I did not answer any phone calls or do any related stuff to my life. To some people's dismay and displeasure, of course.
You focused directly on your weekend and
Yeah.
the people you were with.
Yeah, I was. Look, man, everyone else gets vacations, so it's been far too long since I took a vacation. So I went fishing. Not that I did much fishing or caught anything. We were in an ice castle, and I mostly read comic books and bonded a little bit with my girlfriend's kids. And, just got some time on the ice. We built a little memorial for Bill the Worm.
Oh, yeah?
He was a wax worm. He didn't live long.
So
and,
you guys entertained yourself thoroughly.
Yeah.
But no fish were caught at all?
Oh, no, everyone else caught fish.
But you?
Yeah, I didn't try very hard either.
You were just enjoying your time out there?
Yeah. Took a nap.
That's cool, though. It was you, a couple, your girl, her dad, kids.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Was
And
it,
don't
is
forget
that your
Bill the
first time
Wacko.
ice fishing?
No.
Oh.
No, I grew up on a lake.
Yeah, that's right. I forget sometimes.
I used to be quite the avid fisherman when I was a kid and when I was in my younger days. But, everything from building ice houses and putting them on skis and dragging it on our back out in that very same lake that we were at this weekend, Rush Lake.
Oh, Rush?
Yeah.
Oh,
we were on
that's
West
decent-
Rush,
yeah,
but
that's a good lake. That's a good
I
lake.
lived on East Rush for like 2-3 years, so
Really?
yeah, lots of fishing there.
Yeah.
And pretty good fishing too, and shenanigans at the time.
Shenanigans.
The time that I lived on there, I was 20, turning 21.
So a lot of shenanigans.
Yep, our friends from the cities or where we grew up, Blaine, would come up and we'd have little lake parties and shenanigans.
Yeah, there's lots of times on the lake where we partied. So
Me and my brother Steve, we were just the shenanigan boys. That was probably our name. That or shitheads, one of the two.
Well, it depends on who is saying it.
Yeah.
I guess, huh?
Yeah. Steve's uncle actually used to call us rocket surgeons, cross between rocket scientists and brain surgeons, because we did some of the smartest stuff.
Yeah, that's sarcasm at its finest. I
Yeah.
imagine.
Including shooting a couch with a shotgun inside by accident.
By accident?
Yeah, it really was an accident. I didn't do it.
Yeah, indoors though?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Stories.
Don't have to live that way anymore,
No,
thankfully.
we do not.
How was your week?
It was a good week. Work. Hung out with the girl. Reached out every day to fellow addicts and alcoholics. I go to this men's meeting on Thursday at New Hope, Allano. It's quite a few old timers there. It's Squad 20. It's at 6:30, New Hope, Allano, off Bass Lake Road there. I've been going there. It was the first stag meeting I ever went to in early recovery, and first men's meeting.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. It was at that time, it was the first meeting I'd gone to where people were talking about solution. And it was the first meeting I went to where there was no bullshit cosign. I walked in there on that whole pink cloud telling everyone what to do for the recovery, and I didn't realize I was sitting around a bunch of guys with 20 and 30 and 40 years, but guys that were in the solution, working with sponsees, doing the thing. And I think it was by the second meeting I was told to shut the F up and listen, which was a little blow to my ego, but it was a great meeting. I basically, that's what, if you ask me what a home group was, that's what a home group looked like to me. And they asked me to chair the meeting this last Thursday for the next 2 years. And matter of fact, in about 3 weeks, we're gonna have John B. back on the show and John McHugh come to the show. They're gonna be our guests, and they're from Squad 20 as well. But just guys that are in the solution. Bob goes there. A lot of people that I brought around, some of them old timers. I want most of them on the show, but I'm gonna start facilitating or chairing that meeting, and that was a good thing for me. I'm gonna be slowly not stepping away, but it's my turn to pass the torch at this Phoenix meeting I go to. I've been doing it since the meeting started, basically. So almost 2 years of that position, and it's time to let someone else take on that position. So while I step away from that position, I'm going to take another position elsewhere. So that happened this week.
Are you excited?
In a way, it was kind of my ego right away. Like in early recovery, I wanted to be running meetings, but that was an ego thing. It really was. It was, I'm in charge of this meeting. Look at me. I'm the one running this. Not realizing like the real value of it, and it's a lot different now. I'm excited for it. It's nice to be able to show up, and especially to a meeting where I still get fed quite a bit. I do realize though, most of these meetings where I say I don't get nothing out of it, that's a me problem. It's not the meeting's fault. If I'm not finding something that can help me in the meeting, then I'm not looking hard enough. Because I've realized though over time, like there's something, whether it's negative, bad, good, indifferent, it falls on me if I'm not getting something out of the meeting. If there's a problem with that meeting and I leave because of that problem, I'm part of that problem.
True
I need to
that.
do something about it. If I feel there's something that's not copacetic with it, then I have a duty to bring it up in the business meeting or address it or figure out what's wrong with me that I see there's a problem with it. So,
Well, and you live in the Twin Cities, like the king of meetings. There's more meetings here than anywhere else. If you can't find a meeting you like here, then there's something going on.
That's the thing. It's can't throw a rock without hitting a meeting around here. So that was my week. It was a good week. A lot of work, put in lots of hours at work, but yeah. Other than that, things are good. What I wanted to tell you though, before we move on with this show, is that the Alano Society of Minneapolis vision statement is to be the premier Alano clubhouse, serving the greater Twin Cities that offers support and strength to those who suffer from addiction and their families. This club that we're having this podcast from, 2218, is the world's longest running Alano club in the world. And it's a place that saved my life. It's open for anyone who wants to come attend a meeting, be part of this club, become a member of this club. If you're not able to do those things and you'd like to financially help, our producer here, young Matt's got links up there. You can follow those links and you can donate if you're financially capable of doing so. This club it needs help. It really does. So if you're able to help, please donate or come donate your time. We've got a lot of events coming up. We got the big 80th bash. We got the Ride for Recovery. We've got tons of things going on. Summer's coming. We could use some help with cleaning up the joint.
Spring cleaning. We'll be doing that soon.
I get something out of that because I think it was Emily or someone 2 years ago. They went really gung-ho with all the flowers, like really prettying up this place. And I like being part of that. So anyone that wants to, come on down. Be part of helping this club get pretty.
I'll tell you what, some of my serenity comes from doing simple cleaning projects here all by myself.
Right.
Like that. It's like meditation.
It's for yourself.
It is. I don't know. It's relaxing. I don't know why. So, hey, man, be the change you want to be. If you want to be a part of Squad Council, that's also going on the second Tuesday of every month. But, let's get into the show. We got Rick and Jesse, who are from the 4-Step Workshop every Wednesday at 6:30. Man, my sponsor sent me here. I send my sponsees here. And anytime I can, get in the building to listen to be a part of it. It's helpful to me, And they always do fellowship afterwards, too, at this wonderful place. So if you're interested in any of that, come check it out.
Oh, the Asian place. Did you guys still go there after?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to know what it is, then come be a part of it. Yeah, find out by coming to the 4-Step Workshop every Wednesday at 6:30. And without further ado, let's chop it up.
Let's chop it up.
How you guys doing?
Good.
I'm stoked.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
So tonight, I believe we are going to talk about step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care and direction of God as we understood him. But that's from the original manuscript. The nowadays step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So,
I warned them that you were into books already.
I've always been, but I
He's even
haven't
got his
pulled out my
glasses
little red
on.
book in a while, and at my men's meeting, I don't know why, but I was just digging into the back, and I don't get the difference on some of these things. Did it hurt someone's feelings along the way? Was it trying to be able? I want your guys' take on that for starters, just the wording of it. Do you know why they decided to change it, or?
Decided to change what?
The way the wording was originally, in the original manuscripts, it was to turn our will, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care and direction of a God as we understood him, versus made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So they added direction in the original manuscript, then took it out for the nowadays, for the current one.
I don't know.
You got any info on that, Jesse?
Nope.
No.
I don't think it's going to help you stay sober any longer, but I was just wondering if it's something you guys know
I
about.
used to be able to make shit up and tell you that I had some clue about that, but the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
that's
about
the
that
topic, I think,
specifically.
tonight.
There's a general change, but
Well, I wonder, do you think well, we could speculate, but then we'd just be given misinformation, so we're not going to. So, I'm excited about step 3. I know super fan Ryan over there is excited, being as how he just went through step 3. And I say,
Audience listeners are too.
our audience listeners are. Yeah, I had several people come up and talk to me about your guys' podcast this week. They thought that you guys were the hosts, and you guys hosted it every week.
Oh, really?
I let some of them think that, so. I was like, if you keep saying it, then maybe I can get off the hook.
maybe that was just misinformation.
Maybe. So what do you got, Rick?
What I'd like to do is, I just want to, at the beginning of chapter 5, they talk a lot about honesty. I have to be honest with myself. Okay? That's right in the first paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Not honest with everybody else, honest with myself. So we're going to try and learn to spot our self-deceptions. That's sort of the idea, a key idea leading into the beginning of chapter 5. Okay? Then when you get on page 60, right in the middle of the page, maybe you want to read a little
Yeah,
bit?
I do. So, in that middle of that page where it says our description of the alcoholic,
That's the first 3 chapters in the book where we describe what an alcoholic is.
Our description.
Our description of the alcoholic is the first 3 chapters. They spent 3 chapters because in the 30s they didn't know what an alcoholic was. So they spent 3 chapters telling us what an alcoholic is. People saw them laying in the doorways of the streets, that sort of thing, on the streets. But nobody really understood what alcoholism was. So that's our description of the alcoholic, the first 3 chapters.
the chapter to the agnostic,
That's chapter 4. Agnostic means I don't know. Coined, I was told, by Aldous Huxley. I read it somewhere. Back around the turn of the 20th century. And it comes from the root word gnosis, which means knowing. Agnostic means I don't know. So chapter 4 is designated to the guy who doesn't know if there's a power greater than himself. He's not necessarily an atheist.
Just doesn't
Just
know.
doesn't know. He's unsure, that sort of thing. So they spent one chapter talking about that. And it helped me to look at that because when I came in here, I was an atheist. So I didn't have any sense that I'd ever be able to come to believe.
And our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas.
Our personal adventures, a good whooping. Right? Isn't that what that is?
Yep.
Our
Yeah.
stories.
Our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas.
A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives.
That's step 1. Just another way of saying we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable.
B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism.
Well, we're beyond human aid. If human power could have relieved it, these guys would have not formed Alcoholics Anonymous.
And I wouldn't have needed to find it.
Right.
So that's step 2. That probably no human power. It's another way of saying came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
And C, that God could and would if he were sought.
Okay, that's 2.5. That's like a lead-in into step 3. It's not step 3 yet, but it's on its way.
It's a lead-in.
Yeah, it leads into it. It's 2.5.
That didn't take long.
No.
Right.
We got through the first 2 steps, 2.5 steps, just like that.
Yep. Not weeks and months.
Didn't have to write out a.
6 minutes.
Thesis.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Being convinced of those 3 things, we were at step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood him. Just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do?
Now, that's a good question, isn't it? Now, I've heard many people talk about this in meetings, you know. When I was coming to meetings down here, when I was in just a couple months sober, this would have been in 1987. Everybody in the room was 20, 30 years sober. They were all older, that 20, 30 years older than I was. I was 35 at the time. And one of the guys, I'll never forget it. I don't know why this memory is right there with me, but his name was Casey. And Casey, somebody said, Casey, will you take the meeting next week? And it was on step 3. So he comes next week and he prepares something and he, you know, looks up at the step and he reads it off the wall and then he talks about it as he read it off the wall. Okay? Now, I'm not critical of that. That's what he did with it. But the problem is when we took the steps out of the book and put them on the wall, you lose the process to it. And step 3, when you read, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. When I looked at that on the wall, it was so big and so outrageous. First of all, I didn't believe. So what do you do with it if you don't believe?
Yeah. Kind of jumping ahead without getting to there first.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't do it. There was no way I could do it. Okay. I did not believe. I never thought I would ever come to believe. But I looked at that step and right away, even if I thought I could believe, you look like you got to lose something. Got to give something up. You ever felt that way? As soon as you look at stuff, it's too big on the wall. It looks ominous. My whole life is over. You know, and it's interesting because it took me a while to see this, but one day, probably maybe 10, 15 years sober, it dawned on me why I had such a negative reaction to step 3, to that idea. And it dawned on me when I was 7 or 8 years old. I was living in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, and we used to go to Saturday morning matinee movies or Saturday noon matinee movies. There were 3-4 of us. There was one little girl named Lois who couldn't go to the movies with us. And I found out through talking to the other kids that the problem was her family was religious. Now, I'm not going to get into what or what form of it. It doesn't matter. But the point for me was, right away, I thought, if you have anything to do with religion or God, fun is not going to be part of it. You're going to lose something. Now, I'm 35 years old. I'm still influenced by an 8-year-old mind from something back that many years.
Your own mind.
My own mind.
That's what carried over with you from your experience.
right.
It's
Right.
a perfect example he's illustrating of old ideas. Remember on the first page of chapter 5, we talk about our old ideas. Well, what are they? This is a perfect
Well,
illustration.
that was an old idea that was still in force. So you can be 30-some years old and still have an 8-year-old mentality on certain issues.
Yeah.
As strange as that's, and it can be influencing the way you feel and the way you see things.
On all aspects, I guess, huh?
Everywhere, absolutely.
What was embedded in you at
That's
that
right.
age,
That's right.
whether it was by someone else, it's what you saw, that's what you took in.
That's right.
It's the
So
idea.
I immediately thought fun is over
Right.
if you actually do the third
So
step.
religion meant blah, no fun.
Or
What were you-
God,
Or yeah.
rules.
what were you
Gotta
saying,
lose
Jesse?
something. Gotta give something up. Yeah, Jesse, you wanna?
Well, I'm not sure I remember what I was going to say, but it was these illustrations, and you were bringing up what you used the term implanted, embedded.
Embedded, yeah.
Well, however you want to say, it's what I'm carrying. Whether someone gave it to me or I formulated it, if I'm using it in my mind,
Well, I formulated that. That was not done by somebody else. I just heard that that's why she couldn't go to the movies.
And at 8 years old, you weren't wrong for that. That's what you saw at that age, but no.
Well, it's what I believed because somebody said that's why she couldn't go. I found out that was true, by the way. That was just.
I had friends that didn't get to go trick or treating. That's how, at a
Right.
young age, hey, why doesn't the Richardsons get to go trick or treating? Oh, their parents, they're religious. That's how it was. My parents told me, yeah, they're religious. They don't get to go. That was it. So
Right.
I understand that thought, but I never came to that conclusion until now. I'm thinking back. Well, shit.
Maybe you did.
Maybe I don't know. I never
Maybe-
pinpointed like you're able to.
Maybe you did, and it's been influencing the way you think about certain things.
Light bulb went off over there, Tad. What were you gonna say?
yeah.
I keep trying to hold it back, but so there was
not
a
gonna
house
happen.
when we went trick or treating that had the same thing, and they didn't pass out candy.
Yeah, because of
Yeah,
religion.
yeah.
And
So
whatever
so
their
you
beliefs were,
being the upstanding young gentleman that I was, you know what we did? We egged that house and teepeed it every year because they didn't pass out candy.
But I see what you're saying, and for all I know, that could have influenced thousands of reactions to my thoughts over the years.
And so knowing, I ended up dating this girl that lived at this house. So I found out what religion she was, and I'm not gonna say it, but so many years later, like I still don't. When I hear it, I kind of shudder
But
a
you
little
know,
bit.
I don't think it has
because-
to do with
and it all because of
whatever
Halloween.
Christianity, whatever the religion is, it's the fact of what you're the base of what you're saying is not whatever religion was. That doesn't matter.
No.
It's something that was embedded at that early age. On basically probably false pretense, whatever the case.
Yeah.
But that's influenced where we're at today.
I'm still 8 years old.
Yeah.
At
You're-
35
yes.
years old. And
makes
that was
sense.
this reaction, this inward reaction I had to looking at the step. Now,
Damn.
granted, I had a problem anyway because I didn't believe.
Right.
Okay. Grew up in a family of atheists. My dad was really a communist.
Yeah, you
And,
shared that.
You know, and they were my dad and his friend Joe Stern, who ran a lumber yard. I worked for Joe for many years and sat in that lumber truck and got my atheist and communist training. See, so these things were embedded in me early on, not because of them, because I liked the radicalness of it. I liked
It was
the
appealing to you.
it was
appealed,
appealing
yeah.
to be different, to be
Right.
unique. You know, when you're
Yeah.
an atheist, you feel alone,
Okay.
isolated. At least I did. I don't know how others feel.
You're saying at that age, or
Even period.
coming into 35 years old, whatever the
Oh
case.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were an island.
Well, when you're here's something that I realized not too awfully darn long ago, or it came to me this way because I met a guy in a meeting who was an atheist, and he's 30 years sober, and Jesse and I were talking to him, and he really had no sense of others. You know what I mean? No compassion or understand, or even a willingness to have empathy, not sympathy, empathy.
Would it be safe to say he just didn't give a shit about no one else but himself? Was it a
Cons-
selfish
con-
thing?
Another word would be concern for others.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who are having problems. Why? Because it's not affecting me personally. You see, and unless it's affecting me personally, the more I've grown, I'll put it this way, the more I've come to believe and grown spiritually, the more I've had an understanding and a feeling for others as myself. I did not have that when I was an atheist.
Yeah, you shared that earlier. Last time you guys were on, you shared that was part of it. It didn't affect me. So basically, to
Didn't
you.
care.
Yeah.
Not really. I wasn't a sociopath because a sociopath has no guilt or remorse about it.
Right.
Yep.
See, I knew right from wrong, if you will, that if you stole from someone, it wasn't probably good, but I did it anyway because I didn't care. I just wanted what I wanted. You see, when you want what you want, you really don't think about or consider other people, especially if you have no sense of a power greater than yourself, or a spiritual sense where you are connected to others. The more I've grown spiritually, the more I feel connected to others. So Jesse's problems aren't necessarily outside of my boundary. I can feel, I have empathy for people.
Okay, so this is carrying over from when you're not toddler, 8 years old. So that comes into effect when you're 35. You're in this room, and he's reading it off the wall. But it took you a while, right? Didn't you say? When you got sober, and then when you came to believe, that was a big span in between there, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a Jesus Christ experience at about 2 weeks sober, 3 weeks sober.
Did you? I don't think I was here for that first show when you guys did step one. That's when you shared about it, right?
I maybe, I don't know.
I think we're up to here for it, about it if you don't
Well,
mind.
I'll tell you what it was. Now, it didn't convert me. Don't get me wrong. Just because I had a Jesus Christ experience, I did not all of a sudden come to believe. That did not alter me in that sense. What it came on was the heels of destroying my life. I was solving my problems, as any good atheist would do, because there's nobody else going to solve them if you don't. And they're certainly not going to solve them to your satisfaction, because people are doing for themselves, just like I was. Well, most people have some consideration of the other. I didn't. So I'm fixing my life, and every time I fix something, at the end of my using, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. The frustration level of this, when you don't believe in any kind of power greater than yourself, is off the charts. Because if you don't solve the problem and you can't fix anything, then it really is an admission of insanity. That's the way it felt to me. But if you do it with enough enthusiasm, like I did, you'll get to a bottom. And I don't do anything without a lot of enthusiasm behind it. See, It's always full speed ahead. Now, I still have that in my personality, but I stop a lot quicker. You know, I'm not going to force it and push it through like I used to. Well, at the end, I just couldn't solve anything, and I was working on my relationship with Pam, mother of my children. 11-year relationship, got 2 boys, 4 and 6 years old. She takes the kids and leaves. Well, that worked well. I was fixing that relationship. I was fixing my finances.
And you were how long into recovery when did this happen?
This was happening right before I got sober.
Okay. Oh, right.
Up
okay.
to it.
Okay.
Then I'm fixing my business. I got problems with the business. I got to move it. Moved it 3 times. Nightmare to move.
The plumbing.
Plumbing store. Antique plumbing fixtures. Unbelievable to even consider once. I was working on my properties. I had a couple properties. I lost the house we were living in, and the other property I traded for the store. But everything was getting worse the more I tried to fix it. And finally, I got to a place where I was trying to, because I was involved with a lot of illegal things, I was burglarizing the Social Security office, okay, to plant records in their files so I could get Social Security cards to go along with the birth certificates I was selling,
Right.
okay? We were making up identities, selling them for $175 for a birth certificate with a stamp on it. You could get a new identity. But I wanted Social Security cards to go with it.
To go legit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it all real deal.
Yeah, then you could really got something of value.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to an outpatient treatment program at 1800 Chicago. Social Security House across the street. And I went in there to do whatever I was going to do, and I got caught. The police came while I was in there, and I spent 2.5 days hiding in the ceiling of the Social Security office from the cops, okay? I had some time to think about my life. And it's failing in every area. Every part of my life is gone. It's dissolving, and I'm working on it. I'm fixing it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, to your ability.
That's right.
You were
My
making.
ability.
Yep.
I'm an atheist. see.
You were taking action on what you thought was fixing everything.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, I saw something in that ceiling, and this is relevant to my coming to believe. Not at that moment. Didn't happen at this point. But I saw something that I never saw before. Everybody else saw it but me, and it was this. All of a sudden it occurred to me, I am out of control. That I am actually out of control. I cannot control myself. If I get out of this ceiling and don't go to jail on this issue, this is a federal charge, by the way. You do a lot of time on federal stuff. Even if I don't get caught, it's only a matter, this is what came to me, it's only a matter of time before I catch another case in another situation. I'm going to go to prison. Now, that got my attention, the idea of going to prison. I could lose my family, I could lose my money, I could lose my business, I could lose a lot of things, but when you lose your freedom,
Oh yeah.
then you really got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
So that got my attention that I may go to prison for a long time on this.
This is what's going through your head while you're in there in the
of
ceiling.
Social Security house.
Okay.
Well, I got out of there without going to jail. I won't get into all that. But I spent about a week on the streets in withdrawal from a lot of different chemicals that I was taking. Okay? I won't get into all that either. Suffice it to say, some of it took about a month to come out of my system.
Ah.
Yeah. Well,
We're not talking just alcohol here, guys. We're talking everything. He was using everything, and he was coming down with no help. You were cold
no,
turkey.
I'm in
You
withdrawal.
bone cold
I'm in
turkey.
withdrawal on the streets.
Yep. Okay.
And I got into a treatment center, finally found a way to get into a treatment center. I left my store with some dope fiends that I knew were going to rip me off. So I tried to get everything I could out of that place before I went into this treatment center, because I knew what they
You knew
do.
what was. Yeah.
So I tried to, and believe me, I wasn't functioning very well during this period of
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm in
Aches
trouble.
and pains and
I'm a
everything.
nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
I went into this treatment center. I'm in there for 3 weeks going through withdrawals, and I am miserable. I'm laying in bed one night, And I finally said something that I'd never, ever considered before. I said, I'll do anything not to live this way. I'll do anything. Now, I didn't say I'll do anything except this.
No, you put no boundaries
There
on
was no condition on this. I could not take another bite of my life. I'd had it. And I said, I'll do anything. As soon as I said it, I felt this electricity come in through the top of my head and go down through my feet. Waves of electricity running through my body, one wave after the next. It's so intense, I can hardly bear it. Seriously.
So it wasn't a good. Was it a good feeling or it?
It was an uncomfortable feeling. It wasn't
But something
a
you never
negative.
felt before.
It was intense. It was like an intensity. I feel this peace wash over me that I'd never experienced before, with a sense of knowing that everything will be okay if I just stick to the commitment I just made.
I will do anything not to live the way I've
That's
been
right.
living.
And this was the lifestyle too, the illegal crap, the in and out of courtrooms, in and out of jail cells.
The lifestyle.
The whole lifestyle. I
Everything.
couldn't take anymore. I couldn't take it. This peace washes over me with a sense of knowing that everything will be okay if I stick to the commitment I just made. Now, nothing's okay, but everything's going to be okay.
And you believed it
It
through and
wasn't
through.
even a matter of belief. I knew it. It's interesting because it wasn't a belief. It was, I knew it was true.
It was a
I don't know
feeling.
how I knew that. I just knew it. Now, the experience is getting bigger. It seems to be expanding. I'm not experiencing Rick while this is going on. I don't know what I'm experiencing, but it seems to be opening and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I get this in my head. Jesus Christ. And I said, oh, no,
Pump the
not
brakes.
me.
Pump
This
the
is
brakes.
so outside the boundaries of what I can handle, and I couldn't take it. I said, whoa, I can't handle this. And I said no, and I pushed the experience out of my mind. And everything seemed to collapse back into my body, and now I'm laying there in all my fears and all my pains. But I was outside of that for a short period. I don't know how long this took. Maybe just seconds. I don't
Laying
know.
in bed, it was
Laying
a
in
night.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do anything is all I said. It initiated this experience. Now that didn't convert me. I was still an atheist. But alcohol and drugs and that lifestyle was turned off. It was shut off. Just like somebody flipped a switch inside of me, it's never come back, nor has it had any desire.
From that point, that the desire switched.
Gone. Eliminated, never to return.
But the
Now we're
aches and
talking.
pains came back when you said the Jesus thing. Like, not to sit and dissect that one moment, but my head tells me, why didn't all of a sudden you say, all right, well, screw it. All right, Jesus, it's fine. I want that feeling back. Something like that. That scared you
It was too
enough.
outrageous.
Okay.
It was my militant atheism was so embedded in me that I had so much judgment toward people who talked that way that I just could not
Allow
accept
yourself.
it
You couldn't-
in
yep,
any
okay.
sense. Not to mention, I'd have to be wrong about everything
Right.
up to that
Okay.
point. Okay. And I wasn't capable of. I couldn't handle it, so I just said no, and everything collapsed back into my body, and there I am just in all the pain and conflict.
So you're going
and
right back
fear,
to
right back
withdrawals
to
and
where I
all
was.
that shit. But you weren't thinking,
The
all I
withdrawals
need is an
were
alcohol,
done.
all I need is a beer or two, and this will go away. That's gone.
Everything was turned off. It was just like somebody flipped a switch. It never came back. Well, we're talking 34 years ago, so I got some history on
Right.
this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, no urges, no nothing. And I can tell you some things that I did. A guy gave me an ounce of crystal meth, and I weighed it up and I sold it to get enough money to move my store again. I never used it, had no desire. You couldn't do that if you had,
No, yeah.
if it was not shut off.
Right.
There's no way. I don't advise that.
No. But it just kind of putting that out in front to show anyone listening or to kind
It
of
was gone, guys, and it's still gone. Never to come back.
saying them few words.
Well-
meaning them.
Meaning them,
Meaning
meaning them,
It was
not
a
just saying.
collapse. It was an absolute collapse.
Oh, go ahead.
So I did not believe after that. I was still an atheist. I entered into a commitment with God, and I didn't even believe in God. Now, how in the heck do you do that? I'll do anything. That decision is still in force. I have never lost that commitment. If my sobriety would have been dependent on belief, I'd have been drunk or high a long time ago. My sobriety has been dependent on a commitment that I made to myself, to whoever I thought I was. I thought I was talking to myself. That's never gone. So you guys who believe know that your belief comes and goes, and sometimes you feel real empty, and sometimes you feel real good.
Yeah.
If your sobriety is dependent on your belief and it's gone, you're going to be in trouble. But my
Right.
sobriety's been dependent on the commitment.
So is that
That's
I mean,
different.
is that the same as I'll go to any? Are you willing to go to any lengths for your recovery? Kind of the same. I mean,
Wasn't even willing. Was I willing? There was no question about it.
okay.
There's not even a question in my mind about this. Now, I told that story maybe 30 some years ago. I was speaking somewhere. I get in the mail something, okay? Anonymous. I don't know who sent this to me. I really don't. I've got a feeling it might have been this one older woman who was at the talk, but I don't know for
You were
sure.
sharing your experience
I
during
was
Pope
just
somewhere.
sharing my
Okay.
story. Here's what I get in the mail anonymously after that talk. It said, and this is so accurate, the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. In other words, then God or the spiritual world moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. Oh, how true that is in my recovery. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. Wow.
And that came to you anonymous.
Came in the mail, no return, nothing, just that. In fact, that's the original right there. That's the original one. Now, I can tell you what we're going to read here around this third step is exactly what I just read you. It's exactly, my sobriety has been like a Cinderella story. I don't mean it's been easy, because you bump up against your ego
Right,
constantly,
yeah.
okay? The ego's always there trying to convince you of something. But it's never, ever even came close around using or anything, because it's just a non-issue. So it doesn't even talk to me about it. But there are other temptations that come along as you stay sober. But things that have happened to me, I was telling some friends of mine when I was a couple years sober, we were sitting in his living room and I was sharing stories of things that had been happening to me, and they were so outrageous, the things that had happened. They were all good, but I couldn't explain them away. They were just outside the boundaries of believable, you know? But yet it happened to me,
All
so I
true.
know it's
Yeah,
true,
yeah.
okay? And I'm sharing this with these guys, and they're looking at me, I don't know what the hell they thought, but I drove away from there after about an hour of that. And believe me, there's that much, there was so much. And I thought to myself, would I believe this crap if somebody said it to me? I wouldn't.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I knew it was true because I experienced it. That's how my atheism started to break. But it didn't happen probably past a year, really, of sobriety. And I didn't come to believe because somebody told me that I should believe this or believe that. I rejected all that in meetings. I could not listen to what people told me God was, or I could listen to them, but I couldn't buy it. I needed to have experiences I couldn't explain away. I can tell you in one sentence how I came to believe. I took actions I didn't believe in, and I got results I couldn't deny. That's literally what happened. So I entered into a commitment with God, and I didn't even believe in God. So is belief important, or is a commitment important? Personally, I think the commitment's important. So I don't try and convince guys I sponsor to believe anything. If you undo with an inventory what you're not, what will emerge is your spiritual nature, because the other crap's covering it. So you don't have to do
Right.
something to be spiritual. Get the crap out of the way, and that's all that'll be left.
And just to highlight what you said before, because I think this is a big thing for, let's just say, new people that are sponsoring, is if someone told you early on, you have to believe, you would have went back out.
I wouldn't have gone back
Or-
out. I just would have. I'd have told them they're full of shit. That's all. You know, I wasn't above that kind of conversation. You know,
I mean, I've heard it said from people, you know, you have to believe in a higher power, or this isn't going to work for you.
my sponsor, who's 25 years older than I am, he was 23 years sober when I met him, and he became my sponsor. And he died about a year and a half ago. Somebody said to him, Joe, his name was Joseph after, but he went by Joe. They said, Joe, you're gonna how do you put it? You're gonna die if you don't believe in God, or something like that. And he said, measure out the casket. That was his attitude.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Because I'm not going to believe the way you do,
Right.
you know? And he had a lot of reasons for that from when he was a kid, same kind of crap.
Yeah.
You know? Saw some guy who was a minister whipping his son, and
Yeah,
he said right then and there he became an atheist. He couldn't accept anything. Then, one of the guys, they're all sitting in a circle, and they get up to do the Lord's Prayer. Now, this is how clever this guy is. This is a great line. They get up, and one of the old timers in the meeting is going to make fun of him because he knew he was an atheist. And Joseph was aggressive with his atheism, much like I am. Him
Yeah.
and I, you could match ourselves right down the line. Only him 25 years earlier. Him and I were so much alike, we didn't know it until as we got to know each other over a period of 30-some years. Well, the guy gets up, he's going to kind of pull one over on him, and he says, they're standing in the circle holding hands, and he says, Joe is going to lead us in the Lord's Prayer. So he gets up, and he never misses a beat. This guy was clever.
Quick.
He says, your Father. Not our Father, your Father, who art in heaven. Isn't that something?
That's quick.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
What a great line that was. That's the mind that this guy had. He was a lawyer, and he had a big brain, and he was something.
I like that.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I think, and I
That's
keep,
how an atheist starts.
I keep
to
kind of
learn.
sidetracking or putting it elsewhere. You said, you used an example, you know, some minister slapped his kid around, so now we don't like
Whipped him
religion.
with a
Whipped
buggy
him.
whip,
Okay.
you know?
So, and I think about this, and it gets said quite a bit, and I've heard is, when I'm out in the real world, I'm outside these rooms, and I'm talking recovery, I might be the only piece of information that's outside some other addict or alcoholic might ever hear about recovery. So when you're, you know, that goes for the church, that goes for this or that. Does that fall on the person who's hearing it or seeing it from someone else, or does that really fall on the messenger? Things that I know that's a whole different subject, but because of the way some pastor treated his kid, your sponsor said, nope, religion and
Well,
this and
guess where he was at about 20 years sober, putting on an AA meeting at the Christ Recovery Center at the Union Gospel Mission.
as an atheist.
And when I met him, he was coming out of his atheistic ideas to whatever degree he felt he could. And guess where I end up putting on a meeting with him? At the Christ Recovery Center at the Union Gospel Mission.
Is that an oxymoron or
A fundamentalist, and I gotta tell you, it altered me because I saw something going on there. And if you could, they give you at this place a recovery program for 3 to 5 months for $200 a month. Now, I'm not doing an advertisement for them. I'm just telling you the facts of the matter.
Yeah.
Okay? $200 a month, they feed and clothe them
that's
and give
peanuts.
them schooling, computer skills, life skills. They got all kinds of people coming in to help them in a newer building, and they do this for $200 a month.
My place was about 4 times that a day. Where I went
Oh,
through my
yeah.
inpatient treatment was about 4 times that a day, and that was cheap. Hazelton's like what, 1,800 a day? I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah, it's unheard of. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So I saw the impossible happening, and I started to overlook the crappy things that I felt about these people.
Okay.
I saw the good they were doing, and if you could miss it in this place, you're deaf, dumb, and blind.
Playing pinball.
Yeah, so I saw the good, and I started to see that I was wrong about these people. Well, I've been wrong a lot in my life, about a lot of things. But that place impacted me. I still do a meeting over there. I've been doing that for 34 years over there.
What is it again, and where? What day?
Union Gospel Mission, the Christ Recovery Center.
And what day is that at?
Tuesdays at 12:30.
Open meeting or men's
Well,
meeting? Or?
the problem is the COVID thing is kind of. I was bringing a lot of people in there, but they shut it down. But it's going to open up again.
Okay.
But it will at some
right.
point. But I got to tell you, this stuff impacted me. But that just because I had that experience did not convert me by any stretch. That it took time and it took experiences because I never found a concept of God. I don't know what God is.
Still today?
No. You know how they say it in the East? When people are talking about God, they say, those who say don't know. Those who know don't say.
That's
The guy who was running the Christ Recovery Center was a fundamentalist Christian. He knew I had that experience, and he really wanted me to get on board and talk about it a lot, and talk about Jesus and talk. I wasn't going to do it. It isn't helpful. It isn't help.
it doesn't help you.
I don't.
Well-
You might drive somebody right out of the program with it, so I don't do it.
Is that how you feel, Jesse? I heard you say no.
Well, I agree in that you don't have to bring up religion in your own friendliness to the people in AA is the demonstration, and you do not need any reference to religion. Just your own personal friendliness to the people, and you could then include anyone.
True that.
Right. That's it. Upbeat, happy, joyous, and free. Doesn't say. You're right. In the, there's the spiritual religion. You got the two different things I hear a lot. To bring that question up, do you see a difference in that? Them, religious or spiritual? Either of you.
I can tell you what the guys who are in the Christ Recovery Center taught me. They taught me how to communicate. Because I would sit in there, and these guys are all from the streets, and these aren't stupid people. They're insane, but they're not stupid, okay? And they would confront you if you were talking BS. So you better be able to talk to them reasonably and field their questions.
They weren't co-signing anything.
Without putting them down,
Right.
I learned how to communicate, and I found that the best way to talk to people is to not get their defenses up if you're trying to bring an idea to them. So I don't use words that are controversial generally, like, for example, love. I don't use the term very often unless I'm trying to describe something, but I really avoid it because it is thought of as painful. Listen to the love songs, listen to the music
I never,
So you can't communicate with people You can't communicate because what I would say, they would not reference. They'd think of it as painful. Their love has been painful, been losses in relation. That's not love, that's attachment. So I avoid certain terms.
Yeah, not to get their defenses up.
It doesn't help.
Get them on their heels, and they're ready to argue, ready to put their
That's right.
guards up.
That's right. They taught me that over there. And that didn't happen overnight. I learned that through getting my rear end beat on occasion because I was talking stupid. I learned to listen to myself. So what the heck does it mean? What are we talking about? Just what do we mean by the third step, and just what do we do? What do we mean and what do we do?
That's the kind of instructions I like.
Me too.
The first requirement is that we be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though our motives are good.
Think about what you just said. The first requirement is that I be convinced that my life run by me was not a success. I saw that in the ceiling of the Social Security office. Okay? I did. I came to that conclusion. My life was not a success. I was going to go to prison for a long time if I didn't do something different. So, what does self-will look like? What does that mean to live on self-will? You know, it's easy to skip over these things and not think about it very deeply. But what are we talking about? What would self-will look? I know from sitting in the family, I had kids. If I was watching television or something and I had a remote control, we were watching what I wanted to watch, not what the other people wanted.
Right.
We went to movies I wanted to see, not what you wanted to see. I might even listen to you, but I'm not going to go anywhere I don't want to go. Self-will, okay? We go to restaurants, same thing. I'm like this. That's what living on self-will looks like to me today, right?
Bondage to self type of.
Well, let me throw one at you. Even though our motives are good, I don't have to go a long ways back in history for this. How about today? Here's a good example of a bad example. Me. So I'm on a small construction site with just a wonderful couple, remodeling a bathroom. And there's basically a plumber, an electrician, a repair carpenter, that's me, and a tile guy involved in a little team, okay? So it's about halfway done or so, something like that. And, it's an older building, so things aren't fitting. They're not like a new building where everything is prescribed and fit. This has got to be worked out along the way. And I'm getting in a conflict with the plumber regarding when to bring the tile guy back in, which could be in the next few days. And I get this idea, I don't want to bring the tile guy in until everything's just right for him. I wouldn't want to do that to somebody. Now let me read this to you again. On that basis of self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody. Now catch this. Even though our motives are good. Now I'm quite sure that's a good motive. To deliver the next stage of the game to the next player, if you will, in the skit, in good form. How could that possibly be a problem? So I'm getting in the conflict with the plumber about this. And see, I think that I know. What did we just read? The first requirement is be convinced that a life run on self-will. Now, what if self-will is in the disguise of good motives? So
Damn.
What? So go ahead. What?
I said, damn.
I was
Damn.
going to say, is that where? All right. Well, it says hardly. Self-will can hardly be a success. So in this instance, I guess I didn't catch the first part. The argument was with the plumber saying that no, we need him in sooner. And you're
No.
Or,
I'm saying let's get all of the plumbing and all of the carpentry
perfect and ready for
Perfect.
the tile
So
guy.
the tile guy can just come in and have an easy job.
And someone wanted him in sooner than you.
Well, there's always this benefit to the homeowner to get the thing done quick. It's
Yeah,
in the middle of an operating home.
Well, they did on HGTV in 1 hour.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people unfortunately watch that.
I
So
know. I hate that show.
watch what happens though, because see, I'm making a conflict. A little later in the day, I called the tile guy. These are all great people I'm working with. Very skilled. And he's wants to know the status. Can he come in Monday? I said, I'm sure you can't Monday. Oh, geez, and he's really booked because he's really good. And I described and we talked and I gave him an update and I shared with him an idea from the plumber. What if we got it 80 or 90% ready so that he could do 80 or 90% of the tiling? And I was just balking at that.
The point was the door. He has to remove the door and put in a narrower door. So the wainscot of the tile would come up to the doorway. And we were talking and I said,
He's the plumber I'm talking about.
maybe the tile guy could just come back and finish that little piece later.
And I just balked at that. So I decided, what if I called the tile guy?
To get him on your side.
I'm not 100% bent on getting him on my side. I'm not saying that in no cases or a little while ago in time, but that I can't honestly say that I was trying to do that. I have plenty.
But your
Okay.
intentions were to make his life easier, have it ready.
Correct.
It's
Even
good
though
intentions, but
my
Go ahead.
motives were good.
yeah.
So I'm talking to him and I just explained to him this whole thing. He said, "No problem, Jess." Oh shit. No, but I wasn't really disappointed. I was glad that, because I really got a lot of respect for the other guys on this little crew, if you will. These are all
Including this one.
including that one. And so I'm like, and he explained to me that would allow the vast majority of his schedule to keep in place and keep plodding ahead and keep the other people ahead.
Getting at with the whole thing,
So regardless that your intentions, just what you read.
This is huge. If you think you have good motives and you're in conflict, this is the opening of a new way to see things right here. They don't waste any time on what step 3s actually could look like if you want to look.
Right.
If you want to look when you're in conflict.
See, so what is he saying here? He's saying the first requirement of the third step of turning your will and life over to God is that we be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. Now, on that basis of living on self-will, we are almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though our motives are good. Now, that sentence really bothered me when I read that early on. I'll tell you how it looks to me today. Okay, I've got a good motive. I'm trying to keep a roof over my kid's head and food on my kid's table. That's a good motive, isn't it?
Yep.
But I'm doing it at your expense. How do you like it when you come in contact with somebody? Oh, he's got good, he's trying to take care of his family. Well, so's the other guy. But I'm doing it at his expense.
Yeah.
I just want what I want, and I don't care about other people, really. I just want, and I justify what I'm doing by, well, I'm just trying to take care of my family. Well, the other guy don't give a damn.
Yeah, is that self-will?
Of course.
That's
absolutely.
self-will.
Yeah, and you will end up what? In collision with something or somebody. So you got a good motive, but the other guy don't really give a damn about your so-called good motive
Right.
when you're doing it at his expense. Example, I never sold a car that was a good car. I knew it was going to fail. So I got rid of it before I'd have the problem. Now, I didn't necessarily want you to have a problem, but it's better that you have the problem and I get the top dollar out of it before I have the problem.
Yeah, that's a little more sticky, but I mean, the roof over your head and feeding the kids, I think that's a great example because I have found in the past, if my motives seem to be pure with quotes and they are genuine, I'm doing this for a good reason, but I'm not considering anyone but me and my reasons. So that's the self-will part that will have me in collision with
Something or somebody. Now, you could reverse, or you could exchange the word self-will with selfish.
selfish, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And if you look it up in the dictionary, there's little differences. There's lots of different forms of self in the dictionary. But I'll give you the one under selfish in the collegiate dictionary. The Webster's Collegiate, I've given you exactly that dictionary. Okay, here's what it said. This word for word, I'm not changing a word of it. It says selfish, concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself. Excessively or exclusively with oneself. Seeking or concentrating on one's own advantage, pleasure, or well-being without concern for others.
Selfish.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't care about others. You don't think of others when you're doing what you're doing. Now, when I wasn't paying the house payment and I was buying drugs and things like that, and I lost the house, and the kids had food, but maybe not as much as they should have, or clothing, not as much as they may have should have had. Did that mean I didn't care or love my family? No, of course not. It just means I was concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself. And how are you going to consider others when you're doing that? You can't, because you're not even considering them. It's not that you're bad. I'm just not considering others. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't think of them at all. Never enters my mind.
Of a person, action, or motive lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure.
That's right.
Selfish.
Right.
I
Well,
did this for selfish reasons.
Now, selfish, you can do for yourself with concern for others. There's nothing wrong with doing for yourself. But it's when it's at the expense of others.
Yes.
Okay? I was constantly in my life taking advantage of other people in society on business deals, whatever it was, and I was rationalizing and justifying what I was doing because, well, I'm trying to take care of my family.
Right.
Well, so's the other guy.
Right.
But I wasn't considering him, see?
Just this.
The story, well,
Yeah.
Now think of, these terms, if it's in the guise, or I should say through the view of thinking that I have good motives, look how hard it is to see and find that it was actually at the expense of the tile guy.
Yeah.
My good motive was creating not a,
scheduling issue for him.
oh, it's
No,
several,
he didn't know.
Right.
several problems. So in my effort to get him something good in my mind, I was actually causing him
A problem.
a problem.
That's right.
See,
Without even knowing it.
Yeah. Your motives were good.
this is what the self-deception that we talked about. Rick brought it up right in the beginning of the podcast. So where am I deceiving? I was the one deceiving myself in this situation.
Now, the next sentence says most people try to live by self-propulsion. So it's not just us in AA who do this. Society in general is trying to live by self-propulsion.
And what is self-propulsion?
Self-will.
I'm going to propel myself. I'm going to direct myself. I'm not considering a spiritual, like a guidance from a power greater than myself. I don't even have a power greater than myself at this point in when I was thinking about these things early on. But my point here, I'll give you an example of what this looks like. I'm coming back from some kind of a convention. On an airplane, there's a guy sitting next to me. He's about my age, he's a veterinarian, he's a good guy. Everything about this guy just was good. You could just feel it with him. He wasn't a mean-spirited guy, he was a decent human being, about my age. He's not a drunk, and I'm talking about what we're talking about right now to him. In fact, I'm quoting it out of the book, okay? That most people try to live by self-propulsion. So we're talking about this, and he said something to me, and I've never forgotten it, and it's the way he said it. Now, I knew this about these guys, about normal, so-called normal people who are raised with principles.
Yeah.
I knew it about him, but he just reinforced it in such a beautiful way. We're sitting there, and I'm talking to him, and he says, you know, whenever I run into a conflict, he says, I stop. When I'm talking to somebody or something, I get into a collision, a conflict. He says, I stop, and I step back, and I ask myself a couple of questions. Now, I thought it was interesting, the order that he asked the questions. He says the first thing he asks himself is, am I doing something that's causing this conflict? What's going on?
Is it my fault?
Am I doing something? Am I in some way doing? So he inventories himself, see? And he says if he doesn't see that he's doing something, then he asks, is the other guy doing something? What's going on? Why are we in collision or conflict? Well, I looked at him, I said, you know, I'm kind of like you. That's what I said to him. I said, you know, when I bump into a conflict, I step back too. So I can get a bigger run at the guy. Because I want to bowl him over to get what I want. That's the difference between a normal guy and me. He examines himself, and he does it in the right order. I don't even consider that when I was using. I just step back. I'm going to roll over you. I'm going to find a way to get what I want, period. And I don't care how it affects you at that point. I just want what I want. Self-will. Run riot, they talk about in here.
Though he usually doesn't think so.
Yeah. So most people try to live by self-propulsion. They're going to give us an example here, and this is so beautifully done, but reading this over and over in these workshops, I mean, I've been doing this for 30-some years, constantly reading this at the mission, salvation, all over the place. Now here, regularly. So I've read this so many times, and even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. So you can be quite deceived, and if you read it enough, it gets through.
Here's what it looks like.
But this is an actual description of a couple of things. What it looks like when you live on self-will, but it's also a description of how the mind becomes angry, how the resentment starts. They're going to give us the process for how it happens and why it happens.
Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show.
It's not the director. He's just an actor.
Is forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way.
And the rest of the players in his own way.
Wasn't that what I was just talking about in the story on the little construction site?
You're running all their, you as the
I was-
carpenter is over there running the plumber, running the tile guy, running homeowner.
Essentially, yeah. Just what they read here. Just what they put down. If his arrangements would only stay put.
Right.
If only people would do as he wished, the show would be great.
The job would be flawless.
But your head was saying that's the case.
This is what it looks like from the inside out. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. Life would be wonderful.
If they just listened to me, everything would be great. If my coworkers would just do what I tell, if the boss would listen to me and see I know what's best, if the girlfriend, the wife, gonna arrange everybody, my kids, tell them what to do. Boy, they better do what I tell them or I'll beat them. I'll beat it into them, I'll force them to love me. Yeah.
Watch this. In trying to make these arrangements, our actor may sometimes be quite virtuous. He may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing.
As long as you're getting what you want.
On the other hand,
This is what happens when you don't get what you want.
he may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest.
That's when it didn't work by being kind and considerate. Most people will try and manage and get what they want by manipulating others by being nice.
It sounds like my using days.
Yeah, but you can do this in sobriety.
Yes, no, yes.
You know?
I've got a lot of sobriety days, and I was doing that today.
Yeah.
But as with most humans, he's more likely to have varied traits.
So I won't be all one way or all the other. I won't always be nice in my manipulations. I might be mean and aggressive when I don't get what I want.
I have this
turn
right
on
now.
people.
I have this next paragraph highlighted.
What usually happens?
You go to treatment or jail.
The show doesn't come off very well.
That's right.
He begins to think life doesn't treat him right. He decides to exert himself more.
Yeah, I'm going to force it a little harder now to get what I want.
He becomes on the next occasion still more demanding or gracious, as the case may be.
I'll become more demanding to get my way, or I'll become more gracious.
Whatever I can do to get my way.
But it's a manipulation, see, either way.
Still, the play doesn't suit him. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he is sure the other people are more to blame.
You ever felt that way? I'm willing to admit I'm somewhat at fault, but I'm sure you're more to blame. You can kind of see it with scales. You know, Jesse's a Libra, and that's the sign of the scales, you know, balancing scales. And, you know, I'm willing to admit I'm somewhat at fault, but you're more to blame. All of a sudden you can see it shift. You're more to blame, and the other scale goes right down, and yours goes up, you know? Oh, yeah.
The big billboard of WTF goes off in my head.
What the frick?
Yeah. He becomes angry, indignant, self-pitying. What is his basic trouble? Is he not really a self-seeker even when trying to be kind?
Wow, isn't that a tough one to see if you're a good guy? I'm a self-seeker even when I'm being kind. I think of myself, I'm a good guy. No, I'm a self-seeker. And even when I'm being kind, I'm a self-seeker.
Well, the whole time doing this.
Oh, yeah. Won't look, I'm deceived. Self-deception. See how the anger comes?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this paragraph.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
There's a lot.
He becomes angry, indignant, self-pity. I get angry, I get indignant with people, and I feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
Because
Why
it's
me?
not going the way I want it to go. Or the way I think it should go.
Is he not a victim of the delusion that he can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well?
I'm a victim of my own delusion that getting what I want will make me happy. So guess what I'm doing? I'm managing, man, because I want to be happy.
Is it not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things he wants?
Give me what I want.
And do
Better for everybody.
not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate?
Yeah. Snatching all
Yep.
they can get
Yep.
out of the show.
Yeah.
My actions when I'm living this way make others retaliate. I don't think they're retaliating. I think they're attacking me. So the anger's justified, see. I don't see them as reacting. I see them as attacking.
Especially if I think I have good motives.
Yeah.
How could it possibly be that somebody wouldn't want this construction site just set up so there'd be no problems? How wrong I was.
No, is that? See,
How
I'm over here
wrong-
still trying to justify the situation. You, not just the motive. You saw it through until someone else said. It reminds me of the money on your dresser. Your roommate took it, and your head told you this was. Your head was telling you, Jesse, until you spoke to him or unless someone brought it up to you, until someone else pointed it out, that site was going to go swimmingly. Perfect and good for all parties involved until someone else told you, correct?
No, not quite. It's because of reading this chapter hundreds and hundreds or thousands of times, I can feel when I'm in conflict. I could hear what the plumber was saying, and I like all these people, see? I like all the players in the skit. And so it's just time to ask the rest of the players.
Well, so I says, you're talking to the wrong guy. He's talking to me about this. Call the tile guy. We were talking about some other things in the room too, you know. I said, ask him.
And then it's just like, duh. It just hit me as kind of like, duh.
But then what? Do you chalk it up to the work you've been doing in here and in your life in recovery that you're able to do? Well, duh.
So I was able to get to duh in a number of minutes instead of a number of hours, weeks, or months or years.
Or have a
and tons of resentment.
Or have a tantrum with these people that I like.
So, and do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all they can get out of the show? So is he not, even in his best moments, a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Why? Because sometimes I'm kind, considerate, patient, generous. Sometimes I'm mean and aggressive. I'll give you an example of this from my life. Pam and I split up when I was 2.5 months sober. She took the kids, moved next door. I didn't want to lose my family. Right. I was still trying to get the family. I had not gotten to the point of accepting she wasn't coming back. But she'd had as much fun as she could stand. So she's living next door. My kids are 4 and 6 years old. I don't want to lose my family. So I'm trying to show her I'm working a program. This is within the first couple months of sobriety.
I've been there.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be nice to her. This isn't easy because I'm angry at her. It's before I wrote inventory. See?
Right.
So now I'm trying to be kind and I'm trying to do things, but what it really is I'm trying to manipulate her into coming back, see? And she won't come back. So when it didn't work by being nice, I turned on her and I said, now here's what I said to her. Now think about this if you were on the other side of this jackass, you know. I said to her, you know, Pam, and this is a true statement, by the way, what I'm about to say. But think about how crappy it is, because I didn't when I said it. I said, you know, Pam, this is my final manipulation. The kids are going to be raised in a broken household if you don't come back. Now think about this. She's been living with me for 11 years. I've been a stark raving lunatic, alcoholic, and drug addict later.
Already broken.
Yeah. And not that she was perfect, don't get me wrong here. But the point is, I just put it all on her. If you don't come back,
right.
The kid. So now you're breaking up the family, not me. Guess what she did? She reacted quite negatively, verbally attacked me. And I looked at this, I thought, what a jerk. Look at the way she's treating me. And when I walked away from that scene, I was so angry. So what I do, I get one of my friends. I get somebody like Tad, and I tell him the story. You know how you tell the story, don't you? I tell the story in just the right way so he'll agree with me.
Yep.
I exaggerate what Pam did, and she actually did it. I minimize what I did. I don't tell him what I said. And then I leave relevant information out of the story, because if I tell that to him, he won't agree with me.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot.
So I tell the story in just the right way. He and I join in the anger, and we hate her together. We hate her together.
Mm-hmm.
We join in the grievance. And what happens when you do that? You tie yourself tighter to the grievance the more you tell that story.
I used to get mad if people didn't pick sides and weren't on my sides, too.
Of course.
Well, it's half stories, half.
Like, I'm always down for you. It's ride or
you
die,
told your
Jesse.
side
But
of
now
the
you're going to be neutral? Well, fuck you. I'm a loyal friend for life. And I lived that way all the time. It was awful.
Well, I'll bet you were a nightmare, huh?
I could be.
Well, and
Put some booze behind that. yeah.
Right, yeah.
it's been a while, I think, since like I was in my men's meeting. We talked about that, but that's something. Until was pointed out to me, I noticed I did that even in recovery. While in recovery, I would tell my side of a story to someone.
Just listen to yourself
Yeah.
when you're telling your stories.
I really try to check myself today on doing that because I'll find myself still doing that.
You'll hear the BS come out of your mouth,
Uh-huh.
and you'll hear the not telling certain information,
Yeah.
leaving things out. That's a big one. I'll leave relevant
Mm-hmm.
information out of that story. But the point is that you actually, when you share it with someone that you're getting on your side, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
You're joining in your woundedness, not your strengths.
Nope.
Mm.
So
You're actually
Yeah,
joining
but
in
he-
your woundedness.
But hear this. I mean, really hear that, what he's saying. We join in our woundedness. We stay stuck in the stories together.
That's
Jesse
right.
was talking to me about that on Wednesday. Joining in the woundedness.
Well, where's the solution in that?
Well, let's
Where's the positive? Where's the
awareness is the first move in that direction. So we're getting some awareness what this looks like from the inside out.
That's right.
Mm.
You can't change something you don't know you're doing. So you got to become aware. Not
Okay.
pleasant sometimes to see it, but at least the awareness. You can do something about something you know you're doing. You can't change something you don't know you're doing.
knowing?
So you have to become aware first, because you can't change it if you don't. Assuming you want to change.
Otherwise, it will always be the other people and the world that will need to change, but never me.
Yep.
Isn't that about the last sentence in acceptance?
Well, how do you get to that? Is
Yeah,
what this
okay.
is really getting
Yeah.
us to that
You
idea.
can't accept something you're judging.
Or you don't
Ah.
recognize. You can't if you don't recognize the problem.
Well, if you judge it first and then try and forgive the truth, you can't forgive the truth. You have to forgive your illusions of what you wanted to be
No.
true. That's different.
It's very different.
One way you justify it, I'm going to forgive you for being such a jerk.
So you made sure to get that jerk part in there.
Oh, absolutely. You're still a jerk,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. But I'll forgive it.
Yeah. I'll forgive you, but you're still a jerk.
I'll forgive it theoretically.
Yeah.
Let's see what this says. Our actor is self-centered, egocentric, as people like to call it nowadays. He is like the retired businessman who lolls in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation.
Yeah, he's complaining. What's he complaining about? Sounds like he's got it
He's in
pretty
the
good.
sun and the fun.
Yeah. Well, he's complaining. He thinks he knows what's best. He's going to tell people how to live. Yeah. That's what self-centered, egocentric looks like.
The minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century.
Yeah, look at what they're doing now. Look at the 60s. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, huh? The minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century.
Yeah.
He might be right. Not the point. The point is he's going to tell people how to live. He knows what's best. That's what we're talking about. Self-centered, egocentric,
And what it looks like.
and what that looks
And
like.
yeah.
Just giving us examples.
What do I look like when I'm doing that?
Yeah.
Politicians and reformers who are sure all would be utopia if the rest of the world would only behave.
Yeah, read the papers lately?
If everyone else would just see it this way, through my glasses.
Right. Right. You might be right too. It's not the point.
It's
the
not
point
the point.
is they're griping.
Mm.
They're griping about what other people are doing. Self-centered, egocentric.
The outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him.
I know something about that one. Not that I was a safecracker. I got a job. No, seriously, there's a lot more in that one sentence than you can possibly believe. I got a job when I was early on in my life, 18 years old, 17. The guy stuck his neck out, gave me a job, and he promised me in 6 months a raise and a bonus at the end of the year. I didn't get either one. So I started to steal. I think I probably was already stealing from him, but I justified ramping it up by he owes me. He promised me a raise and he promised me a bonus. I didn't get either one. Now, I didn't confront him. I want you to understand this. I didn't confront him, and I know now why. because I knew why I didn't get the raise.
You were
and the
doing a
bonus.
horseshit job. Or whatever the case.
I was drinking. I was drinking all the time. I was waking up drunk. I was late for work. I was calling in sick.
You didn't earn the raise or
Are you
bonus
going to
that he
give
said.
that? You know,
Yeah.
but I didn't look at that. I just looked at, I didn't get the raise and I didn't get the bonus. So now I got every right to rip him off. And I stole a lot from a guy that I actually liked. Now, how can you make or get yourself, better put, to do something like that to somebody you like? You have to tell yourself a story of something that they did that wronged you so you can justify
it.
what you're about to do. Because if you didn't do that, you would be a sociopath. You'd
Yeah,
have
without telling that story to yourself and you just do it.
But
Yeah,
you
so
gotta
it's a
make
mess.
it reasonable
Right.
why you're gonna do something you know is wrong. I knew it was wrong to steal from him. But I made him the enemy so that I could justify it. If you didn't do that, there'd be something really wrong with you.
The outlaw safecracker who thought
Who
society
thinks,
wronged him.
think of the wording, the outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him. There's a lot in that one sentence, man. That's self-centered, egocentric.
And the alcoholic who has lost all and is locked up. Whatever our protestations, are not most of us concerned with ourselves, our resentments, or our self-pity?
Yeah, I'm not considering other people, really. I could justify, well, I protest for homeless people or something, you know? But ultimately, I just think I know what's best, and I'm going to tell people how to live, and, you know, that's all. Once you recognize this, doesn't necessarily stop you from doing it, but at least you see what you're doing.
You know, yeah.
And it doesn't inspire the force and the hate with it, you know?
Selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate.
Isn't that what I did with Pam?
Yeah, she retaliated.
I was driven by 100 forms of fear. Afraid of losing my kids, afraid of not getting her back, afraid of losing my life as I imagined it, okay? She wouldn't come back. So I was driven by 100 forms of fear. Self-delusion, no question. Self-seeking, wasn't concerned about what she wanted. And self-pity, I felt sorry for myself because she wouldn't come back. What did I do? I step on the toes of Pam and she retaliates. Oh yeah, classic. Classic, what he wrote is exactly what I was doing.
Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation. But we invariably find that at some time in the past, we have made decisions based on self, which later places us in a position to be hurt.
Well, that sounds kind of cryptic, doesn't it? You know, what the heck is he even
There's a
talking about?
lot going on there.
Yeah. If you're in a crack house in the middle of the night with a fistful of hundreds, you could possibly get taken advantage of.
No shit.
Robbed, maybe.
It's a lot,
beat.
yeah.
Yeah, that could happen, you know. Did you put yourself in a position to have that experience? I don't know. You'll have to examine yourself. Maybe you did. That doesn't justify what people do,
No.
you know. But it does. You start to realize that maybe I'm doing things that are causing
Right.
myself to be stolen from, beaten, whatever's happened. I don't know. You have to look at it through the inventory. But that's what they found. We invariably find that at some time in the past, I made a decision out of self, which later placed me in a position to get hurt. I've got a great illustration, but it takes a little time. I think we should just move on. And
It's your call. I mean, and here's the thing, guys, is if, I know we set this up for 12, 13 weeks, but I don't think anyone's going to have an issue if we pick back up on a step we didn't completely finish the following time they come and then move right on to the next. I don't do you see a big issue with that?
not-
Or?
I mean, No, but we've been telling other
I
than
know,
the
I
fact
just
that
think- I was
so
thinking
we'll
about
have
the
to pivot
four-step.
how we tell it
I was
to the
thinking
people.
about next step. Is that, or can we really knock that
We
out
could-
in an hour?
2 hours. I mean, I feel like we're gonna have to get here and just shut up and let them go to work
Oh, that's
next
hard.
month.
These guys spit mad knowledge, guys. The things come. Well, if I shut up. Okay, so
But
yeah.
yeah.
So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making.
Right.
They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot, though he usually doesn't think so.
No, he never thinks so. It's always the other guy. It was Pam. She was the problem. She was breaking up the family. No, she wasn't. I did this for 11 years. I destroyed that relationship in a lot of ways. When I wrote inventory, I saw I wouldn't have stayed with her for 3 months if she was doing to me
What you were doing to
what
her.
I did to her for 11 years. My God, I saw that and I went, holy smokes.
Well, these next two sentences dropped the big haymaker.
That was rough to look at, but it was
Oh,
true.
well. Yeah, it was true.
Yeah.
Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us.
I don't say above everything we got to be rid of booze or drugs. No,
Self.
selfishness, self.
Yes.
Rick's will.
God makes that possible, and there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without His aid.
All right, so now here we go.
There's a sentence that nobody ever talks about.
Well, here you go. We talked about it earlier in the day. If someone says the only way I'm going to. No, we talked about just using, but you can't do this without His aid.
Well,
It's a capital H.
I'll tell you what.
DNA.
I know what he's saying. But entirely get
rid
rid
of
of
self.
What is he saying? We're trying to get rid of ourselves?
Well,
Drop what you're not. What will emerge is what you are.
Interesting.
You don't add, you subtract.
shed.
Get your ego crap out of the way. Entirely get rid of self. Holy cow, we're actually trying to get rid of ourselves? Yeah, we're trying to get rid of our egos. In favor of what? Not in favor, just drop that and see what's left. You'll see that your spiritual nature is right there. You don't have to do something to be spiritual. Otherwise, you put on airs and you pretend and you posture and you pose and you,
Peacocking
oh, I'm
and, yeah.
spiritual now, and I'll hold my hands a certain way. I'll cross my legs a certain. Oh, it's just.
There's a YouTube on that that's hilarious.
Listen to this.
There's a hilarious YouTube on how to look spiritual.
Yeah, it's classic.
It's
funny.
hilarious.
I got something I used to do. So this is gonna sound goofy because it is. When I was a kid, I thought Luke Skywalker looked really like spiritually connected or whatever into prayer, and he held his hands he held his hands a certain way after he became a Jedi. So after he found his connection, and so I started doing that when I went to church because I thought it would help me have a better connection and be calmer or some weird shit.
Posture.
Yeah, I didn't even know that that's what that was.
Yeah.
Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them even though we would have liked to. Neither could we reduce our self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on our own power. We had to have God's help.
Oh, I had moral and philosophical convictions galore, and if you didn't live up to them, oh, I'd hammer on you. I wasn't living them. What was I saying to myself as I'm hammering on you for not living up to my moral and philosophical convictions? And I'm not. Oh, I would be harsh with you, though.
Yeah. Quick to point the finger.
Oh, boy, and what was I saying to myself then? Same thing. The judgment was on me all the time. How are you going to get out from under the
Yeah.
weight of your judgmental mind? You can't.
This is the how and the why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work.
Well, if it would have worked, I'd still be doing it, you know?
Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He's the principal, we're his agents. He's the father, and we are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we pass to freedom.
Question. No. You know what was just said? Lot of G word going on here.
Yeah.
You got to this part while you were still an atheist, right?
I did
How-
the fourth step. I didn't come
How
to
did-
believe until after I did
Okay, how
inventory.
did this type of paragraph go for you?
I hated it. I looked at this, I thought, this is crap.
But what got you through it?
I didn't even consider it. There's no way I can come to believe. There's no way that I'm gonna turn my will and life over to a power I don't believe in. I can't do it. So I literally just set it aside and did the inventory.
Just kept going.
But, yeah, kept going. But it's interesting because I made fun of this in my mind. When I grew up, there was a show called Maxwell Smart.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Get
Smart.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really liked Agent 99. She was really cute.
She was
She
something.
wasn't hard on the
She
eyes.
was hot,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say the
yeah.
least, okay? Well, I'm looking at this, Agent 99, or I'm gonna be Agent 77, if you will. That's how Squad 77 got named, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I like, yeah. Kind of came out of the Maxwell Smart thing, but I thought, that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to, it's great the way he says this. Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He is the principal, we are his agents. Okay, now I'm Agent 77,
Yeah.
showing up for, I thought, it's just asinine. I couldn't, we're gonna hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I wanted to puke when I read this stuff. I really did. I was so I'm not exaggerating my feelings on
Well, and
it.
that's why, listen, I know we have tons of people that have this big hurdle with God. How you got through that?
Set it aside. Keep moving. You know what I did? I said I'll do anything, right?
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
the anything started showing up in opportunities to do 12-step work. And I went out with some guys and I'm running around doing a lot of 12-step work, not because I'm trying to work a program or be a good guy. I was doing it because it lifted me out of my depressions. And I was depressed because of all the loss that I had. With the kids and everything. So, weeks
Getting
sober,
results.
I'm out there getting results
Yeah,
by
yeah.
doing this stuff. And I'd wake up depressed. That night I had a commitment. We were going out every night of the week. Lifted me up. Next morning, depressed again. Another commitment that night lifted me up. Next morning, depressed again.
Need
I
to
went
get
through
your
my
fix.
sobriety like that
Yeah.
at first. But I was getting results and I was starting to live more and more in the middle. See, the depression was lifting. You know, it was coming off of me. But what we're going to read literally happened to me
Okay.
in this next paragraph. All I'm doing is trying to stay out of my head.
Right. It's a dangerous place.
When we sincerely took such a position,
I'll do anything.
all sorts of remarkable things followed.
And it did.
We had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed. If we kept close to him and performed his work well.
Now, do you think I thought I was performing God's work? I was an atheist. I am just trying to stay out of my depressions, okay? And you know what's happening? Solutions to problems are unfolding in ways I never could have imagined the solution coming from. Outrageous things were happening, and they were all good. Everybody was winning. There were no losers in the events.
There are heavy promises in this.
Well, this is what would happen to me, you know. All sorts of remarkable things followed. I didn't think I had a new employer and I'm doing God's work. I didn't even believe in him.
Right.
I'm just going out there doing 12-step work anytime I can because it's helping me.
Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs.
Depression is being interested in yourself and your own little plans and designs. It's depressing. If you think it's not, go think about yourself for an hour and let me know how it went. It's not good. So this is a break. Less and less interested in myself. That was happening.
More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life.
Whoa, look at at that. What can I give instead of take? Selfishness takes, love gives. Wow. Could I be in harmony with love or God and not believe in God? Why not? Why not? If I made a decision to give instead of take, to help instead of hurt, reverse the selfishness. Isn't that what he's saying here?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Well, I didn't even ask yet, but when you're out there doing these things, lifting you up, getting you out of your depression, were you really doing that for these guys you're helping, or was it a selfish motive?
Well, selfish would be without concern for others. It wasn't without concern for others. It was with concern for others.
With concern for
I
others.
wanted to be helpful. More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. You see, they're reversing the selfishness, aren't they?
Yeah.
We read a little bit ago, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. Now we're reversing the selfishness. Does it matter what you believe? No, it matters what you do.
As we felt new power flow in,
I did.
as we enjoyed peace of mind,
I was having periods of that.
as we discovered we could face life successfully,
These were occurring in my life.
as we became conscious of His presence,
That wasn't yet.
we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn.
Look, guys, I'm having a reborn experience as an atheist. I read this stuff. I looked at it, I thought, you got to be kidding me. This is the strangest journey I've ever been on. How can I be having a reborn experience, and a born-again experience, and I don't believe in God? Yet, by what they described here, it was happening to me exactly that way. Figure that one out. Couldn't figure anything out. All I saw was it kept happening to me.
Now we were now at step 3.
All these were fourth and third step ideas.
Many of us said to our Maker, as we understood Him,
As we experience them. Understood, not understand. Understood implies an experience.
God, I offer myself to you, to build with me and do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to Him.
Think about what he's saying in the middle of this. He says, relieve me. So I'm asking God, let's say you believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying, relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do your will. Now, obviously, I can't do love's will if I'm taking from life. Love gives, selfishness takes. So how could I do God's will if I'm selfish and I'm taking from life? You can't. You're out of harmony. Okay? And he says, take away my difficulties. Oh, so my life will be better? No. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of God's power, God's love, and God's way of life. Look, I was doing this as an atheist. I didn't believe in God. But what was it? You know, I came into this club, sit down in a room with a bunch of older men, 25 years older than me. There's nothing funny about my life at all. I'm depressed. I'm distraught. They knew what I was going through because they'd experienced it. So now they're sitting in the room, and it goes around the room, and they're talking about and telling stories lightheartedly. They're laughing about these things that are killing me. They're killing me. I'm depressed. Yet it goes around. This guy tells a story. Oh, I had that, you know, and then the next guy, then the next guy. It's going around a room, and I'm sitting there, and I thought, how in the world did you get from where I am in all this pain to where you're clearly not in pain and you're lighthearted? How did you get there from here? And I wanted what they had in the worst way. And I was willing to do what they did, which is what we're reading right now. I was willing to do the inventories. I was just willing to do anything. Well, what were they doing? They were demonstrating the third step prayer right in front of my face. Their difficulties had been removed, and they were, and we don't use terms like this in AA, but I'll say it anyway. They were witnessing, they were demonstrating that they had the problem and it had been removed by working the steps and working the program. This was a powerful experience for me. I was only a few weeks sober when I had that. Never forgot that one either. Boy, that embedded in my consciousness. Does it matter what you believe? Why? Can't you make a decision that I'll help instead of hurt, I'll give and I'll instead of take? And when I see that it's selfish, I'll back up from it and I'll start to try and practice this. Does it matter if I believe like Jesse or anybody, Ted, anybody in the room here? No. It matters that I made a commitment that I'll do anything. I'm sick of myself. It's a reversal of the selfishness. What if you said, I'm going to help instead of hurt? I'm just going to give. I'm going to try and be helpful. Wouldn't you be working the third step as described by the prayer we just read?
Yeah.
The prayer is just a reversal of selfishness. Isn't that what the step is? Wouldn't that be turning my will and life over to God? How are you going to be in harmony with love if you're taking from life? You can't. You have to give. What if you're giving? Would it matter if you believe? Yeah, you could be working this step and not even know it. That's what I realized. I'd been working it and I didn't know it.
Right.
How about that?
As an atheist.
Yeah,
At that point.
that's right.
Damn.
So I never try and convince somebody to try and believe anything. Let's do some inventory. Let's look at the stories. You start to see how delusional you've been. How are you going to find an experience of love with a head full of hate? You might have a concept of God or love, but do you really feel it when you're hating? You can't hate and love at the same time. They're opposites. I had to get the hate out of the way before I was going to consciously come to believe. And even at that, today, I know I don't know. I thought I was getting dumber for a while, you know. The older in the program I got, the less I knew. You know what it really is? I'm becoming more honest. That's all. I used to think I knew. Now I know I don't know. It's merely an honesty issue here, you know. Those who say don't know. Those who know don't say. Interesting, isn't it?
We circle
like
back.
To talk about something we don't know nothing about.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that still today. I do that. with a lot
Well,
of
you're not alone. Don't worry.
Right.
With lots of things I do.
Yeah, but this is with God. What the
Yeah,
hell
I know.
do I know about God? I
Right.
don't know anything about God. You can have all kinds of concepts, but what do you really know? What somebody else told you about it, or you know?
Right, regurgitating what I heard over at that last sharing
Yeah.
circle.
When you do an inventory and you ask God to reveal things to you in the fourth column, you literally will have a direct revelation from a power greater than yourself. I mean, I had that happen to me and I was an atheist. Things were revealed that I had no sense of before. In fact, the opposite of what I thought.
I had that happen to me after studying all kinds of spiritual concepts. Never did I have the experience of the fourth column by that. Let's see what this last paragraph has to say. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand.
Yeah, they might talk you right out of it. The roots aren't very deep. You just have concepts, ideas, maybe a little experience. And you start talking about it and they'll go, come on, what a bunch of crap. And then they'll talk you right out of it.
The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we expressed the idea, voicing it without reservation.
God, take away my difficulties so I can show others this crap works. How's that?
That's optional.
Yeah.
But it's what it says.
Says it's optional. Doesn't say it can't be fun and humorous.
Right.
Why
Don't
not?
take yourself so damn serious.
Thank
man,
you.
know?
Thank you.
You can't laugh, you're gonna cry over this crap.
This was only a beginning, though, if honestly and humbly made. An effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I felt that.
There we are with the part of the big book that goes through step 3.
That was perfect timing.
Heck
too.
yeah. I want to call young Ryan over here. Come on, Ryan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on, we're running low on
Yeah,
time.
we're running low on time and we have dead air if you dilly dally. So,
We're gonna get into wrapping here pretty quick.
so Ryan, you just went through this earlier today.
No, I just went through the sitting there.
No, well, you went through
Give me
step
the mic.
3 earlier today.
Yeah.
What book did you go through?
NA.
So the basic text is what we did. What was the difference?
Nothing.
You say that again?
Nothing.
So,
Like, I'm kind of scared of you guys to do this 4 or whatever workshop. And I know I need it now. And, like, everything's falling into place. Literally, like, I'm terrified of you because you were in my head that whole time. Yo, like, I'm sitting there thinking about what to say. I don't even need it now because, like, I get how the whole, like, thing works. Yeah, wow.
more will be revealed though.
I was sitting there trying to do the smart thing, right? You wanted the last thought, right?
Yep.
There's the smart thinking. I don't know how the acronym goes. It doesn't matter. I was looking it up, and like this is the main reason I know it works is that as you were saying that, I'm putting all this on like my phone, and it's still sitting on my phone right now. Right when you said that smart, I showed Elena, and like I started breaking down, and I know y'all were sitting there. I was sweating and everything. Like, I don't know what just happened, but like, yeah, I'm an atheist, and that like I don't know. I don't know.
Do the inventory. The problem, I wouldn't be afraid to do the inventory. I'd be afraid not to.
Right.
All you're going to look at is your stories, and your stories may not be accurate that justify your anger toward others and yourself. And yourself. Yep.
Yep.
What's the matter with being wrong? Feels good to be wrong, really.
I've never learned
You're
anything.
screwed.
I was going to say, I've never learned anything from being right, personally. It just makes me more egocentric and an asshole. The
Hey,
more I'm
Kat,
right.
The Alano Society of Minneapolis' vision, it's to be the premier Alano clubhouse serving the greater Twin City that offers support, strength to those who suffer from addiction and their families. And here at 2218, where we have the podcast, anyone who would like, please follow that link and please donate if you're able to. And if not, come on down and volunteer some time. Be part of this club. Come become a member. There's tons and tons of benefits of making yourself part of this club. It helps save lives. You can come down here. You can start a meeting. There's plenty of spaces available for that to occur. Just come be part of this club.
Heck
It's a
yeah.
great place. There's a 4-step workshop every Wednesday. There's Narcotics Anonymous meetings down here. There's Alcoholics Anonymous meetings down here.
CMA.
There's
Young
tons of
People's
stuff
NA.
happening. Yes, young people in recovery. There's we've got the 80th bash coming up. We've got the Ride for Recovery coming up. There's
Come
lots
check
of
it out.
things happening.
Come check it out. And all ideas are good ideas. If you have any ideas on things you need, Squad Council is the place, but Timmy will always take your call too. So, he knows some people because he's a big shot. Just kidding, Timmy. Hey, Ryan, what are you grateful for today?
This moment I just had.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's a hell of one.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you, buddy.
Tad, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for you, like I just said. And also, I'm going to say, look, man, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for new opportunities and challenges because we only grow through challenges. Jesse, what are you grateful for today?
Well, I'm grateful for being able to be wrong a little quicker than I used to be able to be.
Aha.
It's a great relief.
Right. Hey, Rick, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful that I don't care when I'm right.
Oh, my gosh. Rick. Oh, screw you.
And would never.
Oh, wow. And she did it. She stopped and did a double take. Thanks. Love you too. Elena, what are you grateful for?
grateful for experiences because I didn't get to do that when I was using. Just
True
some new
that.
things.
Heck, yeah.
So that's what I'm grateful for. Where's Matt?
Tim, what are you grateful for?
Having to get up and down. I'm grateful for having shows like this. I usually go the whole mom thing, but I'm grateful we get guys that are willing to come in here at this hour of night and share some experience, strength, and hope with us and what they've been through and just their take on it. It's intriguing for me. I'm really grateful for the two of you guys coming down here and sharing that stuff. I grow through stuff like that. And with that said, young Matt, come give us a quote and tell us what you're grateful for.
Yeah. Matt, what's Matt grateful for?
I'm grateful for where I've come in my recovery so far, like being gainfully employed legally, having my own vehicle and a license, and the fact that I will eventually be moving into my own apartment here in the next few months, hopefully. My quote for this week is, "It is your attitude that will determine your altitude in life. Confidence and optimism will take you to the top of the mountain."
That's a good quote.
Good quote.
Hey, so from all of us here, Tim, you want to say bye? You guys want to say bye before we wrap up?
Anything you guys want to say to the audience, the listenership there? Jesse, Rick, say bye to our audience.
Here, I want to tell you a fortune cookie I got the other day.
He's a big fortune
It
cookie
says,
guy.
forgive the action, forget the intent.
Give the action,
Is that
forget
is that from Wednesday?
Yeah.
I've gotten some great ones from Wednesday too.
Yeah.
What did mine say? Do you remember, Jess? It was
I don't know,
You'll
but
be hungry in 2 hours.
yeah, I'm gonna give a plug to the restaurant to where you can go get that. That's the Saigon Uptown. Fabulous food, just fabulous and sweet people, and you can get fortune cookies like
There's
that.
another one that came from there. It says, if you don't enjoy what you have, how could you be happier with more?
Shit, that's an inspiration quote.
I remembered. You can't move forward by walking backwards. That's what it was. I
That's
don't know
pretty
why.
commonsensical. So next week we've got a father-son duo. Go ahead. I want to hear it real
No,
quick.
I said it wrong. I tatted it up. It's no one can walk backwards into the future.
No one can walk backwards into the future. Next week, we have Tyler and his father coming on this show. It's going to be a hell of a show. They're both in recovery. They've been at this for a while. They're really involved in the fellowship around the metro, and it's going to be a great show just to hear that experience. We tried to get them on Father's Day last year. It just didn't pan out, but it's going to be a hell of a show. So tune in next week for that. I think this week, I know we ran a little late, but we started a few minutes late. So I just want to thank everyone for listening. And also, you're not alone.
You're loved.
You're loved. You reach out when you're struggling.
You're a
No one's
miracle.
going to know if you're struggling if you don't speak up. So speak up. Come get involved. Reach out to one of us personally. Get involved with this podcast. Give us your ideas. Interact with us. This show's interactive. We can't interact unless you take part. So with that as well,
If you have any ideas for anything at 2218 and you're not a part of Squad Council or here, get a hold of Timmy.
yeah, get a hold of me. Reach out to me on Facebook at Timothy J. Warren, or just I put my number on that thread. You can definitely reach out to me personally anytime, night or day. I might not answer it at nighttime, but I will get back to you if I don't answer it. Tad, could you close us out with some final thoughts this week?
Instead of final thoughts, I got vulnerable. I let my sponsor get vulnerable. So I'll give you a quick final thought. So hey, I'm Tad, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. Hey, just be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break, and give yourself a chance by going through these steps. And if you know what, if you haven't done a 4-step and you're nervous about it, get yourself a sponsor and come every Wednesday and check out the 4-step workshop. So, and afterwards, come by that restaurant Jesse just mentioned, get some of the best food. I got a funny story. So they took me there a year ago, and Jesse said, have the special lo mein. And then Jesse was like, you're going to eat that for a year. So me, with my will to prove Jesse wrong, I got something different every time and didn't have the lo mein, just to prove. I told him this on Wednesday, just to prove Jesse wrong, right? So you can imagine that. Hard to believe, huh?
Yeah.
What did you have Wednesday?
Wednesday. So a month shy from a year, I finally was like, I told Jesse the story. He laughed a little, chuckled, and I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm going to have that damn special domain. Yeah, it was fantastic.
So 3 years ago at the New Hope Alano, there was Tuesday night general speaker meetings, and this guy comes in and he's speaking all this knowledge about the 4-step, and I was in the midst of doing my 4-step. I had 10, 12, 13 pages, because in my mind, it's my first 4-step. I'm everything.
You
This
were
guy's
one-
talking about it and getting right to the meat and potatoes of it, and after I go and bug him, I'm like, hey, I got this and this going on, and I'm going back to 4th grade. He's like, what are you fucking wasting all your time with that? And he gives me a synopsis, saves me about 12 pages of shit. It was you. You were sharing you were at New Hope Alano sharing at the general speaker meeting. I think Johnny Olson got you to come speak, and I picked the hell out of your brain, and I brought it to my sponsor. He's like, yeah, why are you putting stuff on there from 2nd grade? And it wasn't things of a bad experience with it was, little Johnny tripped me on the playground, and I'm mad at him. Things like that. We got the 4-step coming up next month, and
Hulk
I'm
Hogan
looking
lost
forward
the
to it,
world
but-
title on my 5th birthday, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, it was. I had
can
every
imagine.
little thing, and I was explaining to him like, "Hey, I'm getting really detailed in this," and I think in a few words, you basically said, "What are you doing?" It was good humor.
So hey, from all of us at the Attitude for Gratitude, from Tim, Matt, Elena, even Superfan Ryan, our guests, we want to thank our guests tonight, Rick and Jesse, and we want to, tune in next week. It's going to be a great show. For me and Tim, we love you. You're not alone, and we will catch you next week. Have a great weekend, guys.